Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi scholars, I'm Holly. Today we're going to look at the past simple and the present perfect. In these lessons, there are 6 points we'd like to discuss, and I'm gonna use this pyramid. We're going to start with the most obvious difference. Starting from the grammatical structures until the last one, connection to the present. The latter parts of the pyramids are pretty simple. Meanwhile, the top of the pyramid in my experiments that students find the most confusions. But don't worry, I will going to give you a lot of examples. Grammatical structure. Let's start with the base grammatical structure. Verb 1, verb 2, and verb 3. We form the past simple subject plus verb 2 and the present perfect subject have or has plus verb 3. The verb 3 is called as past participle. For example, I ate a plate of lutung kupang for lunch. Present perfect example: I have eaten a plate of lutung kupang for lunch. Have or has. It depends on what the subject is. If you use subject I, you, we and they, you should use have. But the subject he, she, and it, you use you should use has. It's an unfinished time. I have a clock here. My morning is from 7 to 12. That's my morning. I have a sentence here. I studied very hard this morning. I have studied very hard this morning. What is the difference between two sentences? This sentence, I studied hard this morning, we said when on 3 o'clock. So it is morning is finished, past simple. Meanwhile, the second sentence, we say on 11, the morning is unfinished, present perfect. Now here is the other example. I have the month of March, and I'm in the middle of the month. Which sentence is correct? March was a successful month, or March has been a successful month. The second one, because I'm in the middle of the month, and the March is not over yet. And now, if we are on December 2022, we can say that March was a successful month. The March is finished, and we use past simple. Okay, here the vocabulary that we can use for finished time and unfinished time. We have that years in the past, things like yesterday, last week, for unfinished time. We have things that are still happening now, such as today, this week, this afternoon, our phone so far and recently. Yesterday, I went to the beach with my friends and we have picnic together. Yesterday is the past vocabulary for the past simple. Hijab called me 3 hours ago. 3 hours ago is the vocabulary for the past simple. It is Venus time. 2022 has been a challenging year. 2022 is unfinished time, so we could use the present perfect. While we are on the future, we can say 2022 was a challenging year. Aha, the common mistakes. Last month we have visited Surabaya Zoo. The correct one, last month we visited Surabaya Zoo. Okay, now we are going to the live experience. Have you ever been to Dubai? Have you ever broken a bone? Have you ever messaged the wrong persons? Yeah, I have been to Dubai once. I never broken a bone. Yeah, I have messaged the persons 5 or 6 times. Use the present perfect years as our life experience is not finished yet. We are still alive. The questions have you ever been to is really common. Have you ever been to Tantular Museum? Do I care about the when? No, I don't care about the when. Even this lady also doesn't care about the when. But have you ever been to Tantular Museums? Mm, I went there 2 years ago. It was great. I took lots of pictures. Do you go with your family? No, it was actually a school trip. So when we answer it, we use it. The when is important. Finish and finish actions. Okay, I have two sentences here. I knew Khadija for 1 year. I've known Khadija for 1 year. We need context here since as we cannot know that the sentence cannot be make sense. So we have to add the context. I knew Khadija for 1 year back in junior high school. We were good friends, but her family moved away. Finish time, context is correct. I've only known Khadija for 1 year. We work together, but we're not really close. The unfinished time, context. Okay, we cannot differentiate those two tenses without looking for the for and since. For plus durations and since plus the starting point. For plus durations for 5 years. For 2 months. For 3 hours. Since plus starting point. Since 2022, it is the starting point. Since March, okay, I live here for 5 years. I have lived here for 5 years. I have been soldiers since March. For first reasons, for example, my grandmother was married for 6 years. I lived there for 10 years. To finish time, my grandmother may be alive, and I'm not living there now. Since for starting point, we don't use since with the past simple because since means something is continuing up to now. I lived here since 2020. I have lived here since 2020. That's the correct one. But I've met thousands of people since I started teaching. Wait a minute. I've met is present perfect since I started teaching. The past simple, how can it be? Since I started, what since in the sentence here, since plus I started teaching is my point, is my starting point. I'm not saying my starting is continuing up to the present. Let me give you the same sentence, but I will change this thing around a little bit. I have met 1,000 of people since 2020. I have met 1,000 of people since 2010. The same single instance, but I'm just using different vocabulary. To summarize, don't use the past simple with since if you are trying to express up to now. Use since plus past simple if the past simple's time is your start point. Finish unfinished connections to the present. I've sprained my ankle, so I can't go on that football game. It's meant that I cannot. It is connected with the presence that I cannot play football because the sprains of my ankle. I have received some bad news from my doctor. It is connected to the present time that I am very worried about the news from my doctor. Where will where out of keyboards? Don't worry, I've already ordered some more. I've already ordered some more. Connecting to the present so we can enjoy some coffee. But an American doesn't usually use the present perfect. They use the past simple to connect it to the present. I sprained my ankle so I can go on that football game. I received some bad news from my doctor. Don't worry, I ordered some more. Okay, are you ready for a big review for both tenses? We have different grammatical structure here. Verb 2 for past simple, FS plus verb 3 for the present perfect, or we call it the past participle. And it is all about something that is finished and unfinished. Finished time. I drank 3 cups of coffee yesterday. This means that we are not drinking a coffee now. unfinished time. I've drank 3 cups of coffee today, and maybe we are going to add some cup of coffee for today. Quiet experiments. My grandma went to over 50 countries. My grandma is not lived here. My grandma has passed away. She has been to over 50 countries. She is alive. Finished actions. I lived there for 20 years. Unfinished. I have lived here for 20 years. Connection to the present. You don't you don't need to cook. I've just ordered a large pizza, but sometimes an American use the participle and don't use the present perfect. So you don't need to cook. I just ordered pizza. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.